Welcome to the 293 Code podcast hosted by Charity and Boney. So today's episode, we're going to get into catering to your worth. So tell me, what are you worth? Let's get into it. Boney?
Oh man, catering to your worth. You have to know who you are as a person. You got to be able to have confidence within yourself and not go out here into society and have people tell you who you are. Because the important thing about that, especially dealing with mental health, is you can get caught up in believing what everybody around you say, but then do you believe it in yourself? The thing of it is that if you go off the hype of what somebody telling you who you are and what you can be, but then they turn around and use that to their advantage, you know what I'm saying? You're not catering to your own worth and what you believe in as a person. You know, so it just, the thing of it is, when it comes to catering to your worth, a lot of people don't realize, like for the year 2023, there have been so many suicidal deaths. And it's because, you know, one thing that people say when it comes to suicide, even before they get to that point, or, you know, they suffer from mild depression, severe depression, is the fact that they feel worthless. And it's because they're not catering to their own worth. They're out here trying to live the life of what other people have told them who they are or what they should be.
So it's kind of like you're lost yourself.
Well, you always lost your way if you think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think about people that wasn't born in the millennium, or, you know, like the Gen X, the Gen Z. You know, we all come from a background where, you know, the way of being raised is different now. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, like, for instance, with us, you know, we Gen X, and the thing of it is that we was raised and brought up, especially like, you know what? You don't talk unless spoken to. Mm-hmm. You know, a child stay in a child place. But you was also brought up in a place to where it was like your parents literally told you what you was going to do and who you was going to be and how you was going to act and where you going to live and everything.
That's true.
You know, for so long, that pattern has been stuck in our society for so long that, you know, when our generation started having kids, that's when people started wanting to break that cycle. But then you don't realize even if you break the cycle, you still carrying on a cycle sometimes that is very still toxic. Because then you putting that pressure on the child that you just had, saying, well, I don't want you to grow up how I grew up, so I'm just going to give you the world. But you're still not teaching that child the values of, yes, I want you to be able to express yourself in a positive way. I want you to be able to find yourself. You know, I want you to be able to express your emotional needs.
Right.
When it comes to being able to, like, let someone know how you truly feel. Don't hold it inside.
It's definitely values and morals, I think.
Oh, most definitely. But one thing about it is that sometimes, you know, if you tell the individual to go out there and do those things because you're trying to break the cycle on how you grew up, you're still not teaching the individual how to value themselves, because you're supposed to put yourself first automatically. But if you notice now, even some of the people in our generation or even in our age range and younger are just now trying to figure out, like, how to live for themselves, how to do what they want to do.
Yeah, trying to love yourself, basically trying to see where you fit in as a person, just yourself, and not live for other people. You know what I mean?
Now, you're absolutely right. But if you think about it at the same time, though, you know, when we was younger, we always thought, like, wow, I can't wait till I hit 21, you know what I'm saying? So I can start living life, you know? But, you know, once you hit 21, next thing you know, you 25, and next thing you know, you 35. It's like life go by so fast after that. Like, when we was little kids, we always thought, like, man, I can't wait to be a grown up. I can't wait to be big, you know? Because as a kid, life do seem slow because you have no responsibilities. You have no worries besides what your parents telling you to do. And that's household chores and all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know, it's a catch-22, because what if you coming from a household where you coming from a single parent home, or even if you coming from a 2-parent home and your parents were struggling to put food on the table, they pay checks just to pay the bills. You know what I'm saying?
Or working around the clock.
Exactly.
To keep up with, you know, A, B, and C, and still. And you know what I learned? Our generation is called the latchy kid.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. What's a latchy kid?
That means you have the keys to the house when no one's home, but you can go home. Like, you go home and you're always alone because your parents, you're always working to say, you know, keep up with the bills and make sure there's food and lights on in your house, in the house.
Well, that makes sense though, because you think even before us, back in the Little Perry on the House days, a Little House on the Perry days, it's just like, what I'm saying, kids was out,
Yeah.
they was out doing like serious adult type stuff, as far as like, go feed the chickens, go milk the cows, you know what I'm saying, at like 7, 8 years old, their parents put them to work, because back then school wasn't really as important if you didn't know how to work. Right. Because you had to be able to still provide for your family. It was all about providing. But at the same time, it was also brought up in that toxicity is, family is everything, and you didn't know how to socialize with other people if they wasn't doing the same exact stuff that your family over here is doing. And they saying, well, my family values are worth. That's a family value. But what about your individual goals and what you're worth? So when you go out into the real world, you really don't know what you're worth. You may know how to work and bust your ass, but that's it. You know what I'm saying?
What about rich people, like rich people with kids? I mean, there's people with money that don't have to work around the clock, but I don't feel like, they want their kids to be, successful and, giving them like trust funds and like, how does that work?
For them, it's all about providing. So they look, how they had a saying, well, if you look good, you feel good. Yeah, part of that is true, but it's a small percentage. You know what I'm saying? But the question that I would want to ask people is, how many hours a day do you spend in the mirror looking at yourself? Half of us can't even say no more than about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but that's being a distraction of either brushing your teeth or combing your hair. You may be putting lotion on, or you looking in the mirror to make sure your clothes are straight. But how many of us can really say that we look into the mirror and talk to ourselves to evaluate what we really are? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't, because you know what? There's always a piece or a part of you that you wish that you could change or you want to change. But do you value yourself enough to say, you know what? Today is today that I'm going to start that process. It's hard. We all go through it. There's not one person in this world that can say they value themselves the utmost, because it's the difference between being conceited and valuing yourself in a way to where you can honestly say, like, you know what, I get up every day, I talk to myself, I even tell myself the wrongs. And it's different between telling yourself the wrongs and being guilty about something.
That's true.
Because that's the whole conscious level of it. But a majority of us cannot even say that we look in the mirror and we talk to ourselves. Most of us avoiding it. You like looking in the rearview mirror.
We'll probably talk to ourselves like, okay, what my day's gonna look like. So really, you're right. It's not what, I don't look in the mirror and be like, okay, like, like, how are you feeling today? What's your goals? I don't really look in the mirror and do.
I don't look in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? Like, my therapist been trying to get me to look in the mirror for years. But you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I know that's a part of myself now, with my own daily struggles. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can tell people about my daily struggles now, because you know what? I'm the one that have to deal with it every day. Like, you tell people all the time, you never know what goes on behind closed doors. But at the same time, it's like when you really trying to find yourself genuinely, you have to make sure that you don't get distracted by other people's needs.
That's pretty hard, especially growing up in the era that we're growing up.
Exactly.
And even in how we raise our kids, even with school, the school system, and just life itself, it's pretty much a circle of catering to people. Like, I want people to like me. I want people, I want, like, you go to high school, I want friends. I want people to like me. I want to have those cool friends because I don't want to be alone. And pretty much, you're pleasing everybody. You're being nice. What do we say about nice?
Nice get you stuck.
Exactly. And so you're not being nice at school, work, and even at home.
Exactly. But and the thing of it is like, when we always tell people like, hey, nice get you stuck. And they be like, no, it don't. What do that even mean? Well, people got to realize there's a difference between being nice and being kind. When you being kind to somebody, you actually being genuine. When you being nice to somebody, you actually doing it even though you don't want to do it, just so that people can say, oh, thank you. And that's supposed to give you that little small percentage of like, I'm worth something to them, when you absolutely not.
Well, nice don't got no boundaries.
It don't.
Kind got boundaries. Like, I know you want that. I'm being kind and compassionate to your feelings, but I don't want to do that. So, no.
Yeah, and if you genuinely want to do it, you would never bring it up. Well, I did this and that for you. When somebody bring up what they done did for you, it's because they was trying to be nice for people to say, "Oh, you're so nice, you're so sweet." No, just be real. But like, no, I don't want to do it. And you know, it's just like the deliverance for people. Because the thing of it is that like deliverance is one of those things that everybody have to work on.
Yeah.
I had therapy this morning. I was talking to my therapist about deliverance because, you know what I'm saying? I was up front. I was just like, you know what? My deliverance on how I talk to people sometimes, yep, it's jacked up. But I'm being blunt. But at the same time, I'm being honest. Right. The deliverance might have been wrong because the defense mechanism came up. Right. You know what I'm saying? And the thing of it is like a lot of us do it and don't even know it, or they probably can't even admit it that they're doing. You know what I'm saying? But the thing of it is, when you sit back, and that's the whole goes back to the whole thing of looking into the mirror.
Yeah.
And also knowing your worth, that when you start realizing and you look deep in yourself, it do brings up the deliverance to be wrong because you're fighting so hard for something that you never took the chance to even get to know about yourself. Because worth is very, very powerful, and people don't understand that. That's like having gold in your pocket. That value is so richified.
Nah, you right.
You know what I'm saying? But if somebody see what you worth when you don't even know what you worth, they gonna get you for a penny. They gonna get you for pennies.
They're gonna treat you like shit, get you for pennies.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, and then you'll be the person in the corner moping and being angry, but not gonna say anything and still do the work.
Regrets and living with.
Right. And a lot of times what happens, that brings on a depression, that brings on you doubting yourself, that brings on you even knowing what you really value and what's your worth. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, like, people don't understand when most people say, "Hey, I feel worthless." Most people can't relate when somebody telling them that. They just be like, "Well, why you feel like that?" Sometimes they can't explain it because they never had the skills or the tools that they needed to really adventure that, because it's not an easy journey.
No, it's not.
Because when you say you're worthless, there's a lot of stuff about yourself that you don't like, that you wish you can change. But when you focus more on what you wish you had, you will never be able to move towards the step of knowing what you could be worth. Yeah. And that's the speed bump.
Well, since I'm in my 40s and, I go to therapy, so I'm now learning what that really means. Like back then in high school and maybe in elementary when I was younger, I thought, my value was, making everybody feel welcome.
Right.
Feel nice, or doing all this stuff that I don't want to do, and still that puts me on the back burner. So I never really looked at, okay, what's my worth? What does that mean to me? Right? And, as I'm 40, I'm learning, oh shit, that means, I'm important. The shit I do has value to it.
Right.
And I love myself. I can say this now more than ever. I'm really starting to enjoy myself.
Right.
I love myself. I'm starting to actually get to a place where, I'm not pissed off all the time.
Right.
Because, and I'm okay saying no to people.
Right.
And I never did that. I'm going to tell you now, I was like the biggest nice person ever.
You was the caretaker.
Yeah, and it got me stuck.
Well, I was so stuck. I mean, I just kept burying myself. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still trying to learn that process because, you know what I'm saying, when you come from a family and, especially from the South, where it's like you respect your elders, whatever somebody older than you say, you're supposed to respect it and do it. Mm-hmm. There was no form of free speech, And when you see other people do free speech, you be like, man, I've been gotten out into next week if I spoke like that to my parents or whatever, or anybody that was older than me or whatever.
Well, you got to look at it this way. Like, we were growing up where, if I look at my grandma's age, right? My grandma grew up in the age is called, what do they call it? Where the women are very submissive.
Right.
You don't talk about your problems. You just, keep it pushing and don't complain. Even though people treat you like dirt, and when you go home, the first thing you do when you open that door is you complain. But if you have kids, I've never heard my grandma complain. She worked 3 jobs. I never heard her complain once.
You know what? The grandparents never complain, but you got to remember, like, their kids complain when they come home.
Yeah.
Come home for work, they'll talk about the job, talk about the people on the job. Now, you got to go back to that job tomorrow and do it all over again. But, back then, it was always talk about hard work. But nobody ever made the moves to advance themselves. And so what they did was they didn't know how. But what happened is they put the pressure on the kids. We was the ones that had to make up for what they didn't get. Because they didn't get certain opportunities. It was put upon us to make sure that if we got that opportunity, you're going to strive at it. It was the same thing with sports. We was not allowed to play sports to have fun. To be like, if you wanted to have fun just playing sports and it didn't mean anything to you, you played in the backyard. But if you played for an organization, you better go out there and ball out. Because the first thing that was come to mind is, I don't have time to be spending my money on you, and you going to go out there and you going to half-ass.
Right.
Every time you step on that court or you pick up a ball, no matter what sport it was, you better go at 110% every single time. You wasn't allowed to have a bad day.
Oh, man.
Because you came home and you got that lecture about what you didn't do correctly.
Especially if you were like a top athlete, especially like a star athlete.
Right.
That's the worst. I know, that's the worst.
It's a lot of pressure, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, but the thing of it is too, there's nothing against sports. And it's different out here in Washington State. Trust and believe. It's different out here. Boy, is it different out here. And people will want to argue to the fact, like, no, it's not. And I'm like, no. Come to the South. It's totally different. Go to the East Coast. It's totally different. Like, sports are competitive from the age of the time your child, if they 5 or 6 years old and compete, is very competitive. And people, you can go on TikTok and look at the competition between little kids. And little kids are already having that confidence like, yeah, I'm better than everybody. But that's what's instilled in you, because you think about it. Back then, if your parents couldn't afford to pay for you to go to college, you weren't going.
You sure wasn't. You had to work and get a college.
That was the only way you could get an education. That was the only way for, especially in the African American communities where parents were like, you know what, you need to go to school, get this education, so when you get out, you can get a good job. Because back then, it really did matter about you having a degree. Nowadays, you ain't got to have a degree. You can go out here and say you about to be Aquaman, baby sister or whatever, and put up a stand outside and people, promote it, and you can put it on TikTok and start making money through social media. You know what I'm saying? It's harder than said and done, but kids these days are not more motivated to go to college. They're more about trying to be influencers. So like everything's starting to change, generations and stuff. So it's just like for people that was brought up in our generation, we got to change a little bit with the time or whatever, but it's hard because we still know what it means about hard work. This new generation try to find the easy way out, but still try to make the money.
Yeah, I think the new generation get caught up, and they're like the biggest generation as well. I feel like some of them don't value themselves a lot. Actually, a lot of them. I see a lot of these kids on social media, and they're making great money.
But it's an entrapment, though.
It's an entrapment, and then when that camera goes away and they're not on social media, what they like is life. Do they value? Do they love themselves? Do they respect themselves? Like, what's their morals and moral compass? And I'm starting to see a lot of the famous TikTokers are committing suicide.
Right, and I think the one thing that really happens is that when you get caught in that cycle, like if you came from no money, you may have come from some money, and when you get in that spotlight, you be like, I finally made it. But you don't realize you haven't made it yet. In order to keep this lifestyle, you got to maintain it. So then you got to work 20 times harder, Then the fame comes in. You no longer have a regular life.
That's true.
Now you got to uphold everything, but then it becomes to a pattern where you hear a lot of celebrities be like, you know what? I work around the clock. Time make money, but you're not spending no time with yourself.
Yeah, you don't know your worth.
You know, like when I was living overseas, one thing that I seen that like I can say that, you know, overseas in most of the European countries, you know, they value time. But the time that they value is that the time that you spend with yourself. You know, you go to work for 4 hours and they say, hey, you take an hour off. You can come home and have lunch. You have that downtime, and then you go back for the next 4 hours of your shift.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They embrace that quality of the person. Can't say so much of that in America because it's all about work, money, 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 money. You know, we got to be the richest country out here. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, hold up, we doing something different.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why the suicide rates are so high. Because what people don't realize in the mental aspect, when you become a workaholic, you not only run away from, you know, your problems, you also running away from yourself. Because if you have to sit down for no more than 30 minutes, what happens is then you have to focus on you. And that's hard to do. Especially if you don't know where to start, or if you're not in therapy, or if you don't have friends that you can confide in to listen to you that really understand what you're going through. You know, most people say, hey, you know, pick up the phone, call a loved one, call a friend. Nowadays it's complicated because you know what? Anybody can do those things. But nowadays you have to make sure that you're really talking to the right people.
That is true. You got to make sure that you are talking to the right people. And having the right people in your corner.
Right.
I'm going to tell you this now. I think things play out for me the way they're supposed to play out. Because, damn, let me tell you, if I would have had shit, like, back then, and I would have made it to Hollywood, nigga, I would have fucked that all up. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I didn't know myself.
Right.
Value. Damn, I'm going to tell you, honestly, I did not value myself. I mean, really, as an athlete, it showed.
Right.
Play all damn day. I love giving people a show, but I didn't value myself.
No, you're right. You know what? That's majority of us. And I can say the same thing. Like, I always wonder what it would be like if, you know, if I wouldn't have made that pit stop here in Seattle. And I would have stayed overseas, continuing to play. You know, my whole goal was, hey, I'm just going to live overseas because I loved being overseas because it was different. It was something new. But the thing of it is, you know what? It would have been damaging to me because at the same time, I wasn't getting the care that I needed. Right. I was pleasing everybody else because everybody was like, oh, you made it. And I'm seeing all these different countries, and it was awesome. I got to see the world through something that I love to do, but nobody really got the insight of the pressure. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's like not having anybody to talk to that really understand what your mind is saying to you, and not fully being diagnosed correctly. Yeah. It was hard on me, so you know what? I just continued to shut down and just keep busy. And it was just like you couldn't run away from the spotlight. You couldn't run away from what you have accomplished, especially coming from a small town. Because every time you go back to your hometown, everybody want to bring up your accolades. You know, so then you feel like I can never mess up. Yeah. You know, when you're not trying to be perfect, but everybody else making you seem like you perfect.
Or even when you mess up, you're like, you don't want to go back home because you feel like a failure.
Right.
In all reality, you were sick of the shit anyway.
Right. But then, you know, it comes to the point where when I stopped playing basketball, we're just kind of like, man, I'm letting a lot of people down. You know? But nobody ever asked, what is it that you want to do? Nobody ever asked that. This what they ask. So what you doing now? They don't realize the deliverance. So they just show like, man, when I was on the court, everything was all good. Yeah. Now when, you know, you be open like, hey, I got mental health issues, and it's not nothing just that, it's not simple. Right. It's not me walking around and just saying, oh, I just suffer from depression. Depression come in different levels. You know, and people don't realize that. People just think depression is depression. It's not just depression. You know, it's deeper than that. Right. And, you know, thinking of it is you could tell when people get really uncomfortable, because when you really start opening up to them, because you just be like, you know what, I don't care no more. I'm going to tell you just like how it is, because you had to hide yourself for so long that people get quiet because they don't know what to say. And it's just like, don't say anything at all. Nobody asked you to. But if you really want to know what's going on, this is what's going on. And so then after that, people don't really know how to take you anymore.
So that would fall on the emotional your emotional values. I mean, your emotional.
It's more of like, yeah, it could have fallen on your emotional values, but at the same time, it also falls on, you being able to fully be okay with expressing yourself and how you feel and not worrying about other people's acceptance.
Yeah, so that's emotional.
Because the thing of it is, it goes right into, if you always worry about people accepting you, you decreasing your own worth because once again, you trying to please somebody else.
That's true.
And so that's why worth is so important, because it's just like it's a meter going up and down, especially when, you trying to please everybody and nobody's asking about how your day. When most people ask how your day is, are they really asking or are they just trying to make small talk?
And the majority of the time they try to make small talk. Now, there's some people who actually genuinely care, ask you about your day.
Right.
Now, since we had the pandemic, people are afraid to ask people.
Yeah.
Because everybody's struggling. And people know that everybody's struggling.
Right.
And like you said, we put on this facade that we're not struggling. And so what we do is, it's the most awkward thing I've ever seen. People now, they'll look at you and they'll just smile and go about their day. They don't want to ask. They're afraid to ask, how was your day? Because, number one, their day is not great. Their month, their year or so is not great.
But you know what they hit you with? So when people really don't want to know how you doing, they'll just say, hey, how are you? And most people respond, oh, I'm good. Mm-hmm. And then they say, oh, that's good. So you can instantly shut off the conversation.
But are you though? But are you good though?
But they're not going to ask you with that. they you know what I'm saying? Because it's like a catch-22.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of like, for me, it's just like, okay, it's nothing else to talk about,
It really isn't.
It's nothing else to talk about. So it's just kind of like the easiest way to do it sometimes. Everybody have their own deliverance. It's just kind of like, just be yourself. I think when you just really being yourself and just be like, hey, what you been up to? A person can say what they've been up to. If they say like nothing, just been chilling or whatever like that, just be like, oh, okay.
But how can you be yourself if you've been a character all your life?
That's what I'm saying. But if you answer a blank question like, hey, what you been up to? And if a person turn around and say, hey, nothing much, just chilling or whatever, relaxing. We in Washington State and any other state, it ain't too much you can do around here. But sometimes, those are key signs when people just saying that. It's just like, okay, what's really going on? Mm-hmm. I know sometimes with my friends, if I hear them say that, and I'm talking about friends that, I'm saying I have been, on the mental ward with, or, institution and stuff like that, we stay in contact and we text each other and do our little check-ins, but it's like really genuine, just like, hey, what you been up to? It's that safe place where they can just say, hey, I ain't doing good today.
Right.
And just like, so what's going on? And we have opened that lane where you can just be completely just blunt. And it's not one of those things where somebody gonna say, oh, don't do that, don't talk about it. Nah, because everybody get it.
Right.
It's your truth, it is what you're going through. But you don't have too many people like that though.
Nah, you really don't. You don't have too many people like that. I mean, everybody's, everybody's a character. Let me tell you right now. There's a lot of characters walking around that's been walking around for years, so you don't know that they're characters until you deep dive into it and start listening to their conversation. You know what I'm saying? Their actions and their conversations tell you everything that, okay, this mug don't value themselves.
Right.
Or they just don't care, or they're being nice, trying to, please everybody so they can, feel good about their self. And there's a shred of a piece of that. It's just toxic.
Well, yeah, but when you being nice and you being the caretaker, because being nice is being the caretaker. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I see it. And The only time you have that moment of glory is when everybody's saying, oh, thank you, you so sweet, I appreciate you for that. But by the time you get home, all that done wore off. So you felt good for about 30 seconds. That's about it. 30 seconds to a minute is what I give you tops.
You're like, damn, okay. Yeah, I know. Like I said, everybody, check on your friends. See how they doing, loved ones. Or just reach out to someone. You don't necessarily know if they're struggling or not, but just reach out and see. Just check. See if they're doing all right. Start a conversation. It starts with compassion. People always talking about having compassion for, their self. Have compassion for the loved ones next to you. Have compassion. Hey, you may get up and you may not be okay.
Right.
Like Bonnie said, look in the mirror. And be honest with yourself when you look in the mirror. And if you ain't okay, just say, you know what? I'm not okay today.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's okay not to be okay.
It's very okay not to be okay. And I think for so long, that's why, like, with celebrities, just generalized people, you know what I'm saying? It's hard for them to come out and be themselves because, you have your agent, and other people saying like, hey, you can't let the world know this and that. What's going on with you?
Yeah, celebrities are the biggest characters. I mean, they've been playing different types of characters all their life. And when you go into the business, they give you a new name. So you're no longer using your real name. Some of them do because they love their real name. But really, they're like, well, that's not catchy enough. And so they automatically, you learn from day one, as an actress or actor, like, you have to play the part. So your part is always on. And, I used to think, man, they got it so good. You know what I'm saying? They got it so good, they're living the life of, like, luxury and having fun. And it wasn't until I started getting deep into filmmaking. And I started realizing, especially, like, the casting couch. A lot of the actress, that's where your values come in, What's your worth?
Right.
And some people, they throw that out the window for a part. Oh, I'm going to get this part now. I'm going to be the star. Everybody wants... That star is a deadly thing.
No, it really is. Like you see these celebrities and you thinking they making, top dollars when they doing like these TV series or they doing movies and stuff. But they trying to survive too.
No, you right.
And it's stressful just being in their world because they have to do so much, marketing and publicity, for whoever they work with or whatever TV show that they're doing or whatever movie. But it's just like, you think about it. Some of them are scraping dollars too. They really are. So, like for today, it's just more of like, no matter what situation you come from, rich, poor, middle class, it don't matter. At the end of the day, you still got to know how to value your worth because you came in this world not knowing anything.
Mm-hmm.
But when you leave this world, you want to be able to leave with people being able to know who you really was and what you was worth. You think about it.
Yeah, and you gotta want to feel good about it. You gotta feel good about yourself. And I'm be honest with you, doing nice things for people, it doesn't make me feel good. Honestly.
I think doing stuff for people, especially when you being nice and it's not genuine, it's more stressful than anything because it brings out that inner anger. Mm-hmm. You be like, you know what? I don't even know why I even said I wanted to do this. Then you left mad. Then you looking at the time like, is it over with yet? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, for real, though, because, you starting to realize, like, I'm worth more than this. Why did I say I want to do this?
I'm worth more than gold.
Right. You got to be like, you know what? My con side told me not to do it, but I was just like, nah, it won't be so bad. Because you notice every time we say we're going to do something for somebody, and we'll be like, oh, that's an easy job. Mm-hmm. We'll be done in no time. And we get there, we be stuck. 2 hours turn into 6 hours. We be mad every time.
We do.
And then we always be like, we set ourselves up for failure being nice.
It sure does. I mean, it'd be like 4 hours, 6 hours, 11 hours later.
And we have in our mind, like, it be pre-planned too. Like, okay, we have a time frame and it just don't go as planned. And it's just like, man, we got God again.
They want you to do other stuff and you being nice, like, yeah, I'll do it. Nah, I won't do it.
Yeah, it's an entrapment. And, sometimes you have to be careful because people try to get you at your most vulnerable moment.
Oh, man, they do. I mean, at that moment, it's almost like you're like a little, what's those little fish? Is it guppy?
I have no idea. I know goldfish and I know catfish. I know bass. Anything else, I don't know.
Well, you're like a little tiny fish, and they see that, right? And so they're like the big fish ready to eat, to pounce on you. And so, they really do, like, they'll look at that as an opportunity for them.
Right.
And so if you start knowing who you are, and loving who you are, and knowing your worth, it's going to be harder for those type of people to come in and steal your thunder. And I mean steal it. And, but when you don't know yourself and all that stuff, well, it's going to be easy. You're going to let toxic people in, and they're going to play the part of they care so much and they're going to put on this facade and you're going to think this person or these people are the perfect people for you. And they end up messing up your career or messing you up or doing something that's really like hurtful that hurts you in the long run. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So you got to know your worth. And, if you don't know your worth and you're not confident, guess what? Even at work, they're not going to see your worth. They're going to think your worth is less.
Right.
Or your love is less, or who you are is less.
Well, that's a good thing that you brought up with the topic with love, because it's just like if you don't value yourself, you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't love nobody else the way they want you to love them if you don't love yourself correctly.
That's true.
People think that love can be forced or, like I tell people before, love is just a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
Love is a 4-letter word that people hypothetically use to make themselves feel good. Because sometimes people use that word to get somebody else to tell them that they love them back. They're hoping that them saying, I love you back, make them feel good because they don't value themselves. That's why a lot of people get in relationships and relationships don't work out or it don't last long because neither person have done the work to know like, hey, I have to put myself first. But sometimes people have to get in relationships to see that. But then the thing of it is, are you really going to turn around and do the work? Because the work is not easy. It's not no 2-month, membership where it says we can teach you in 2 months on how to love yourself.
See,
Here's
the thing I keep running into. I hear a lot of people say that, and I'm glad you brought that up. I hear a lot of people say that if I go to therapy, then, it should fix me. It shouldn't be a long-lasting thing.
Right.
Right. Or, like this should be it shouldn't go that long, or, I don't have any issues.
Yeah, one thing about people, if you look, couples therapy is a good thing, you know what I'm saying? I've done couples therapy before. But one thing, people have to really know about couples therapy is, it's not glamorous, and one of you gonna walk out every session mad or upset or, questioning a lot of things within yourself, but that's if those things are happening when you're going to couples therapy, then you actually putting in the work. Because if you both leaving couples therapy happy and saying, this is going to work out. Nah, it don't work like that.
It ain't gonna work like that. But they think it's gonna work like that.
Yeah.
They think it's gonna work to their advantage, and at the end of the day, you start to learn about yourself real quick. Especially if you have a therapist that's going to tell you about your fucking self.
That is true.
And put you through the work.
Now, where it starts at, this is how they get you, because you may come in together as a couple, but then when a therapist be like, okay, well, I want to see you on this day, and then they want to see your partner on another day, because that's when they break down, like, okay, you telling them your views, and then they see your partner views, and then when you come back together, and then the therapist is dissecting everything down, and you going back and forth, that's when it get real.
Yeah.
That's when it get real. But with any type of therapy, whether it's family therapy, couples therapy, individual therapy, you have to be willing to go in and do the work. And I tell most people, if you got a therapist where you just feel like, well, my therapist just let me vent, but your therapist is not really challenging you, it's always good to go get a different therapist. I'm just telling you up front.
Yeah, you being real.
Because if you ain't leaving therapy some days mad and questioning your worth, and and you being really angry and upset, your therapist probably ain't doing their job to the full extent.
I'm telling you this now. I had went home after therapy and, pissed off. I would think about it the whole fucking night.
Yeah.
I would think about it the whole night. And the next morning, I have to, go to my desk, get out a piece of paper, write shit down. And then while I'm writing shit down, then I find out, oh, shit. I didn't love myself. I walk around here, I thought I loved myself. I thought my worth, I thought.
Right.
Somebody says, well, why do you love her? At that time, I can tell you all the fake shit and all the shit I think I love that person.
Right.
But in reality, if I don't love myself, how the fuck I'm gonna love somebody else? If I don't know my worth, how the hell, I'm gonna teach her to show me, or her, or him to show me my worth?
Nah, that is true. Because, for the longest for me, I didn't know how to love people. Because I didn't know what love really was.
Yeah.
See, you know what I'm saying? It was easy for me to scapegoat through it, because you know what? It was easy to, I thought love was providing, caretaking, making sure everyone is good around me. Because you know what? That's the kind of households that I was raised up in. Because you know what? You come from that system again where it's like providing, doing hard work, and making sure everything is done. That's what love is.
Yeah, that's so true.
And you know what I'm saying? But when you saw it on TV, you just be like, you couldn't connect to it, because you're just like, well, if you ain't providing, that ain't love.
Yeah, that's true. They don't tell you all the emotional energy you gotta put into it. You can buy a person something all day.
Right. Or you can even spend time.
Prostitutes.
You know what I'm saying? But if you think about it though, I want everybody to think about this though. It comes to the point where you get that one person that comes into your life and they really challenge you, and they can love you to the fullest, but they challenge you about love and the worth. And it's just like, I'm providing for you. I'm doing everything, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'm running around with my neck cut off, and they don't care about any of that. They want you. And you just like, that's where you just turn cold, because you just like, I'm busy making sure everything here is good, but never knew how to connect on a different level. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like,
because you don't know your worth. You don't know your love. Here's the thing. Worth and love go hand in hand, right?
yeah,
They're in the same category box. So if you don't love yourself, how can you show somebody else love? How can you teach them how to love you? How can you teach them how to treat you? Because you don't even know your worth.
That's the thing. If you don't love yourself, you don't know your worth. You know what I'm saying? So you walking around like a coupon. No, for real. You walking around with a coupon and you giving the world 50 to 75% off. But you choose how much your discount is. Because you don't value yourself.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what I'm saying? And I looked at it like that with me, because it was just like, notice when you was young and you wanted to be in a relationship and you would put up with so much stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right. You would put up with so much stuff just to be with a person because you want it to be love. But when somebody's actually giving it to you, you don't know how to accept it. You see what I'm saying? Because it's foreign to you. You trying to learn, but at the same time, you trying to low key be undercover, trying to, you take it in, but it's still foreign. You don't know how to gravitate to it and hold it.
Right.
And see, for somebody who may love themselves and value themselves, or on the other hand, they don't, but they spoil or act like a brat. You see what I'm saying? Because you're not giving them what they want. Then it comes to the point of like you bumping heads, and it's just like, you may love yourself, but if I don't love myself, how are we supposed to make 2 + 2 = 4? It's not, because you got a positive and a negative force. You're gonna bounce off each other every time, because at the end of the day, somebody's gonna have to give in just a little bit.
That's true.
But you can't force somebody to love you if they don't know how to love themselves, because that take time.
Yeah.
You can't put time on life work.
You sure can. Damn. I really like the coupon one.
I'm telling you, it's just like, I live my life metaphorically.
Explain that.
Because you know what, I'm the type of person where, I just recently started learning how to express myself and actually show real, true feelings. And like that took years for me because I don't trust people. So I had a wall built up and I was just, sheltered in. So when I would go to therapy, my therapist would give me flashcards because I only knew 3 things: angry, mad, sad. That was it. Because I never really explored happiness to put it in my category. I only pulled that out when I was in places there my anxiety got raising, or I was fearful, or I was being nice and didn't want to be there, but I was stuck. So then I'll pull out the happy face mask and throw it on. You see what I'm saying? So I had to learn how to be in a different, how can I relate to everybody that's going to understand me? They don't. So no matter how I would deliver something, when it's coming out verbally in my mind, I'm coming out saying it because of the fearness and how I feel. But to everybody else, it was blunt and so direct. But I'm like, no, that's how I'm expressing myself. But in their eyes, it was mean. It was too blunt. And so I had to reevaluate, like, how can I communicate with the world? And so I went into this dark hole of, it's me against the world now.
Okay.
So the whole thing was, when you isolate yourself from everybody, and it's like when I started going to therapy and it was getting really intense, and me and my therapist was trying to figure out, ways to get me to be more open, or for her to understand me a little bit better. She noticed the only way I could actually relate to get her to understand me in a way was metaphorically. Because whenever she would say, I don't understand, I would literally have to break it down that made sense to me.
Okay.
For her, but even though it was in a different language, she would pick, she knew what I was talking about then. And then when she would say it, how everybody else would understand it. And I'd be like, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That right there. You know what I'm saying? But I never knew how to say it
Right.
to where everybody could understand me. I would have to use metaphors. That's the only way I knew how to communicate. But when I would say stuff and I'm by myself to the world and people took it the wrong way or didn't understand or ask questions, I'm being misunderstood.
So would you say, like, increase your emotional intelligence? Because, you used only 3 words.
That's all back then, that's all I knew all the time.
Now you're using a lot more. Your vocabulary, emotional vocabulary has grown. What would you say?
It's grown by a few inches. Because the reason why I tell you that is because you know what? I still use the flashcards here and there. Okay. I have them posted up on my phone. And I also have like this page that my therapist gave me with the little faces. Now, most people are like, hey, that's what they used to give kids when they go to therapy. Right. It is. But for so long, being that small kid now to an adult, I never expressed myself. I used to be the little shy kid. Or people like, oh, you just timid. Go with that. Just keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when people say, well, tell me how you feel. I don't know. Shit. You know what I'm saying? I don't. Because I never really knew how to express and explore that. So you find different ways to be able to communicate. But when you communicate with people who are similar to you, it's easy. You can speak that bluntness and they're going to get exactly what you're saying.
That's true.
You know? And the thing of it is, and what most people don't realize is, I don't know about all places, but when I was hospitalized down in Texas and I was in an institution down there, and they never would allow, we would always, you know, me and the other patients, I call them colleagues now, you know, kind of like a graduation ceremony. We wasn't allowed to sit around and like really mingle and talk. If somebody was having a bad day or if they knew that person was like mentally off that day, you wasn't allowed to go over to them and like console them or y'all have those deep conversations. Now, if everybody looking like they're having an okay day, it was all right. But they never really wanted you to intervene. But the thing of it is, people did it anyway. Because we all in here for the same reason. We on a trauma unit. It's called a trauma unit for a reason. And it was a specialized program where you triggering us on purpose in an enclosement area where you can't even see what, if it's raining, snowing, or anything of the day. But the thing of it is, we was never scared of each other. And we would have some of the deepest conversations. And I think that's one of the reasons why they want to keep us from each other, is because you didn't want to, they were scared of people being triggered or getting ideas or anything like that. Because everybody had different diagnoses. Some was more severe than others. But at the same time, we all treated each other equally.
Right.
And the thing that really got me the most is that being in there, what taught me the most is when I got out and I flew back to Seattle. I would never be at where I'm at today if it wouldn't have been down there. And when we did our little talent show and I did my little poetry stuff, and you know, because I always kind of kept that to myself. And everybody's just like, no, you really got something. Like, no, people need to hear this or whatever. And it's just like, oh, people was kind of telling me about my worth, but I respected it coming from our own colleagues, because we're going through the same thing, and we're not sitting here sugarcoating each other. Like, we're talking about daily life struggles where we get it.
Okay.
It was no judgment, no nothing. It was pure. It was genuine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when I looked around the room, and I'm just like, wow. And we all kind of like, we would talk, like I said, I was in there for 21 days. There was nothing else for us to do, you know, besides making collages when we would have gym time, you know what I'm saying, music time. And then, you know, when people went outside for cigarette breaks, but that was in closed brick wall, you know what I'm saying? So all you could do was look up at the sky. We was with each other 24 hours a day, from the time we got up at 6 o'clock in the morning to the time we went to bed, 7 days a week, doing the same routine every single day. There was no rest time. They wanted to keep the mind going. They wanted to keep us busy. They wanted to make sure we was eating. Then you have therapy. Then you see a psychiatrist. Like, they wanted to keep us going. But the time to think of it is, what was the deepest and the genuine thing for me is, that's when I started to value like what I was really worth. Because it's like this.
Okay.
I knew I had talent, but that didn't mean anything to me because that stuff came easy. Playing sports came easy.
Yeah, okay.
Writing poetry came easy. To me, that wasn't a talent. I didn't have to learn how to do it to be great at it. But then when I was in that room and I met some of the most talented people at heart, it was just like, wow, this is deep. You know, I'm meeting a girl down there, and she's a ghostwriter. She talking about all the artists that she done wrote for. They even let her bring her guitar in, and she would have to check it in and out. And you know, she's sitting here trying to write songs or whatever, hoping that she get out soon. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, like, that take talent. But see, to the outside world, you know what I'm saying, where it's like nobody knows what she's really capable of. You know, it had another dude in there. He didn't help model landscapes and buildings. But you know what? He's in there with us too. And that was like his second or third time. But you know what? To the outside world, it's like, oh, you know.
But do they know they work though? You know what I'm saying?
They know they worth. They know they work to a certain extent. But then at the same time, it's like when you don't have that support that you need outside, where you have to come back into is inside.
Oh, yeah, okay.
When you don't have that support, and it's just like, it's one of those things when nobody can really physically help you, when you're really struggling on your journey, to nobody, it really mattered about all that stuff never really mattered. But when we was all in there together, it was like we kind of made a pack. We'll check on each other, make sure everybody kind of doing good, here and there. And every time somebody got discharged, it was like we had these journals that they gave us all, and we kind of turned them into like yearbooks when people leave. So everybody wrote in everybody's journal. Some people would leave their phone numbers. Some people would just write a message and put their name so you can remember, or we follow each other on Facebook.
Damn.
And then some people, I'm saying, that I was in contact with, they're no longer on Facebook, and I just wonder like where they at. And I knew some of the people that I talked to had to end up going back into the institution, back to the trauma unit, and then back in it again. And it's a cycle, because it's just like, the days of being in there, you never know when you're going to get out.
Right. Man, that's wild. So we're gonna have to wrap it up here, guys. Just want to send a shout out to the Seattle Spartans. We'll be putting a link to the Seattle women's tackle football team on our page, where you can also go buy some gear. Boney is the head coach of the Seattle Spartans, so we'll be putting that information all on the page. Please.
Don't forget about you. Charity is also the team liaison of the Seattle Spartans.
Oh, yeah.
We will see you guys next time. Thanks for listening. And also, if you got any topics that you want us to talk about, put them in the link. Send us a message either on Facebook or Instagram. And like I said, you put in a topic, we'll talk about it for sure.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Our next episode is Identity. So that's episode 2. And just a reminder that in order to be comfortable, you got to get uncomfortable. So we're having those uncomfortable conversations that a lot of people don't like to have, and we're keeping it raw. So thank you for joining. Tune in on Wednesdays.